Welcome to the Hank Haney Podcast here on nofilter.net, recording live today. Hope everybody's having a great day. The Hank Haney Podcast is brought to you by haneyuniversity.com. That is my website. You can find out all the information you need to know about getting a golf lesson from me. If you have any interest in getting better at the game, that would be a way that I would help you do it. And I am teaching nowadays at two locations. One is my studio in Paradise Valley, Arizona, and the other is in a new facility. I'm going to start teaching that here in the last week of August in Deerfield, Illinois, which is an interesting story because I grew up in Deerfield, Illinois. Never in a million years did I think I would be returning to Deerfield, Illinois, but my son's hockey has taken me to the Chicagoland area, and I'll be teaching there soon. And so I'll have two locations. But haneyuniversity.com is where you can find me. And you can also register for my free instructional videos. And they go out on a weekly basis to help you get better at the game of golf. All right. I want to talk about Lucas Glover. I've just returned from the European vacation that I was on. Actually, I was at a hockey tournament with my son, but I've been following the golf. And Lucas Glover winning back-to-back is an incredible story. In fact, one of my favorite listeners, Caddy John, sent me a message on Twitter or on X or whatever you call it. And he said, this is one of the greatest stories going. And I would have to agree with him. Now, I don't know if the whole golfing world thinks that, because I don't know how much people are watching Lucas Glover or even watching the PGA Tour nowadays. I can't imagine when it's Lucas Glover battling it out at the Wyndham Championship or at the FedEx St. Jude Championship. I don't know if that's drawing huge audiences, but it is a great story. And it's a great story because Lucas Glover is a former U.S. Open champion, very good ball striker. Not a, people talk about how he's been a great ball striker for a long time. I mean, he's been a very good ball striker for a long time. I'll throw some statistics at you. Strokes gained tee to green. This year he's 29th. Last year he was 62nd. Year before he was 53rd. Year before that 52nd, 25th, 61st, 21st. So a very, very good ball striker. Kind of reminds me of the career he's had is kind of like a Charles Howell kind of career. Lucas Glover's made $34 million. Charles Howell made I think $40 million. Pat Perez made $28 million on the PGA Tour. Lucas Glover's won more. He's won 6 times. Anytime you can play, as long as he has on the PGA Tour, and I think he's 43 years old. So he's played out there for quite a while. I mean, that's something that's a great accomplishment. There's something to be said for that. I've used this statistic many times. 50% of the tour turns over every 5 years. You look at the top 125 or top 150 players on the PGA Tour, and you look at those names that are on that list, and in 5 years, half of those names will not be there. So if you've stayed out there and you got out there after college and you've been out there until you're 43 years old, and now he's going to be out there at least another 2 more years because he's got a 2-year exemption from these wins. And then he'll have a lifetime exemption from a moneyless standpoint they'd probably be able to use that'll get him into something further, another for you. So he's pretty much, got himself in position where he's going to be on the PGA Tour until he's at least 46, 47 years old. And that is a heck of an accomplishment. There's no two ways about it. He's won 6 times on the PGA Tour. But to win back-to-back tournaments, and even he said this when they interviewed him, Amanda Balionis interviewed him, and she asked him, if I would have told you that you're going to win back-to-back events on the PGA Tour, what would you have said to me? And he said, I'd tell you need to get a therapist. And then they interviewed him in the press room after the tournament. And he said, I'd have thought you were crazy if you told me this was going to happen. So this has been a surprise to him too. There's no doubt about that. And the reason being is because of his putting. He has been a horrible putter statistically. Look at his putting even this year after these last two tournaments, which he's putted very well in and made a bunch of putts and made a bunch of putts on Sunday at the FedEx St. Jude tournament. Big one for bogey and threw in a bomb there. But with the great putting in the last 2 weeks, he is down to 160th in putting on the PGA Tour. So you get an idea where he was before that. He was like 180 something. Last year, he was 189th. Year before, 137th. Year before that, 163rd. He's been a terrible putter. Statistically, he's been a terrible putter. And the reason I say statistically is that Lucas Glover has had the yips with his putting. So he has a hitch in his get-along. If you watch when he strokes through the putt in the past, and you could go back and you can review some videotapes, and one of the ones that comes to mind is the Wyndham Championship a couple years ago when I think he missed it from like 6 inches on the last hole and didn't even hit the cup. And his right hand is just like shaking through the hit. A yip is in the forward swing, and it usually affects one hand or the other. Sometimes it can affect both hands, but in his case, it was the right hand. And that right hand would just wiggle all over the place. It's a motion that causes the club face to open and close and open and close and open and close, and you don't know what jerk you're gonna hit it on. And that's just what it is. It's just a jerk every time you hit it. He's called it debilitating. Like he lost all control of his faculties, he said. And that is a good way to really describe the yips. It's a problem that is treatable in putting. You can figure out a workaround, which now he has done. But if you have the yips putting, you're only going to take it so far. And there are quite a few players on the PGA Tour that have the yips. Matter of fact, I did a medical research project, and my medical research project tested over 5,000 people, golfers who play the game, and 26% of those golfers had the yips. And I think that number probably holds pretty true to the PGA Tour. And everyone you see on the PGA Tour that has an alternative style. In other words, they have a cross-handed grip, left hand low. They have a pencil grip where their finger is stuck down the shaft, their right hand down the shaft. They have what's called a saw grip. Mark O'Meara calls it a saw grip when he puts his hand on there sideways, or a claw grip. If they have an alternative style, there is looking at the hole when you putt, like Jordan Spieth did for a long time. If you have an alternative style when you putt, there is a better than average chance. As a matter of fact, it's almost pretty much guaranteed that you have the yips, and you're trying to figure out some way around it. Okay, and that's the telltale sign when you see somebody that has that alternative style. So this is a prevalent problem on the PGA Tour. It's something that people don't like to talk about. It's something that the announcers don't like to talk about. The players don't like to talk about. And I find it just hysterical when they try to beat around the bush because nobody wants to say the word yip. It's like if you say it, it's going to get worse. If you say it, you're going to do it. And the fact of the matter is you either have it or you don't. The technical name for the yips is focal dystonia. Okay. It is a neurological problem. People see somebody with the yips, they go, oh, it's all mental. People say it to me all the time. It's all mental, isn't it? I said, no, it's not mental. It's not mental in a sense that positive thinking or a sports psychologist is going to help you fix the yips. In the history of the yips, I have never seen a sports psychologist that fixed somebody that had the yips. Do they get a little better? Do they have a little success here and there? Yes. Does all that positive thinking stuff help? Yes. But does it fix it? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's a neurological problem. The pathway from your brain to your body where this message goes to tell you what to do is jumbled up. It's got something wrong with it. And it's kind of like when your computer gets all messed up. What do? You turn it off, you turn it back on, and it kind of resets itself. Problem is you can't do that with your brain. So you have to find a different pathway to use. And that different pathway generally will have to do with getting your hand in a position so that your palm is not exactly facing the hole when you're making the stroke. That's the number one thing. If it's in your right hand and you move your right hand grip in a different position, then you're going to get pretty much instant results. Not like oh, I'll have to work on this for a couple of years. No, it's like within 5 minutes, within 2 minutes, within one stroke, you're going to notice a big difference. If I see somebody with the yips and I change their grip, it'll happen immediately. It'll happen immediately. So yippers can be helped, especially if it's somebody who has it in one hand. If they have it in both hands, you got a more difficult situation. I don't know what Lucas Glover's situation is with the yips. I know he has it in his right hand. I don't know if he has it in his left hand. It may be in his left hand too. He's pretty severe. I'd have to test him, but I've never tested him, so and I can't just tell by watching. I can see a yip, but I can't see if it's in both hands until I give them a little test. And the test that I do, if anybody ever wants to test themselves on the yips, get about 4 or 5 feet away from the cup, straight putt, and putt with one hand only. First your right hand, then your left hand, putt with one hand, and see if you have a flinch or a hitch in your get along as you come through the hit. You'll have it in one hand or you have it in the other. You may have it in both. If you don't yip, but you on that test, but you feel like maybe you still have a little issue, then put a little gate out, like 3 feet in front of your ball. At 2 tees, make a little gate just wide enough for the ball to pass through, and do that same test again. And what that does is it entices you to yip by narrowing that target so close together. It entices you to yip, and then you'll see if you have the yip. And if you do, then you want to try something that's an alternative method. So this method worked for Lucas Glover. The thing that I find fascinating about this story is that Lucas Glover went from no control, in his words, of his faculties, okay, debilitating with his putting, to winning back-to-back on the PGA Tour, which they say is the one of the hardest things to do is to win on the PGA. That's what they say. But if it's so hard to win on the PGA Tour, how can Lucas Glover win back-to-back on the PGA Tour? So I don't know about that. But any way you look at it, it's always a great accomplishment when you win on the PGA Tour. It is a great accomplishment. So I'm not going to take anything away from that. And he putted fantastic. And I can't imagine the relief that he felt. I've seen it because I've taught so many people and I've helped so many people with the yips. But the relief that he felt to hit those putts and not have the flinch. And he talked about it in his press conference. He said, I didn't make them all, but I didn't yip any. And even when I missed, okay, I didn't hit it hard enough. I hit a little too hard. I didn't read the break right, whatever. You're going to miss. But to not yip it is a phenomenal feeling for somebody that has had that issue. and it's fun for me to watch because I know how much people suffer from this. But the thing that I enjoyed the most was how Lucas Glover talked about it. Instead of this, oh, don't say the word, oh, he's got a little something wrong there that the announcers will say, or he jabbed at a little bit, or that wasn't a smooth stroke. No, it was a yip, and he said it, and he talked about it, and he said, you know what? I decided. Now I don't know why he talked to some people. I don't know if he talked to Brad Fax or something. He said, "Hey, you got to do something about your yips. You need to try this." I mean, like it's the amazing thing to me is people have this problem with the yips, and they have it for so long. Like, how long has this guy had this problem? I mean, he's putted horrible for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, 7 years. His 3-putt avoidance, this year was 175th. Last year was 185th. The year before was 179. Means 3-putting all over the place from 5 feet and in. 5 feet and in, 183rd on the tour this year, 185th on the tour last year. But so he's had this problem for forever. I mean, a long time. It surely seems like forever for him. I don't know if he's had it all the way back in college, and maybe it gets worse with age. For some people, it does. Not necessarily that's the cause, but it can make it worse. It can exacerbate the situation. But what took him so long to get some help? Like I don't I watch some of these guys on the PGA Tour, and I think, what's this guy waiting for? Try something different. He was one of the most amazing stories I've ever seen because I watch him. He's using a traditional method. Like I watch Sergio Garcia sometimes. He's got a different method, and then all of a sudden I watch a tournament, he's using a traditional method. He's got the yips. He's never going to putt with a traditional method. He may have a good day. He may have a good hole. He may have a good 9 holes. He may have a good putt, but he is never going to putt consistently good unless he uses an alternative method. And he's probably not going to putt great, but he's going to putt good, because there's a difference between somebody being a bad putter and a good putter. Obviously, there's a difference. And then there's a difference between somebody being a bad putter simply because he has the yips, or somebody being a good putter who can't putt because he has the yips. And this is the distinction that I want to make that people don't understand. You will hear people say, well, he's a terrible putter. No, he's not a terrible putter. He's a good putter. Jordan Spieth is a great putter. Not a good putter, a great putter. Jordan Spieth is a great putter who has had the yips. Lucas Glover, I don't know if he's a great putter. Maybe he is a great putter. He's been a great putter the last 2 weeks. Maybe he's a great putter that just had the yips. There's other players that are not great putters. They're average. They're below average. Maybe they don't read the greens very well. Maybe they don't, hit their putts the right speed. Maybe they don't have a great stroke. But they also have the yips. So that's a bad putter with the yips. Ooh, bad combination. You could be a good putter with the yips, but you become a horrible putter statistically simply because you have the yips. But if you take the yips away from that player, all of a sudden it's like instant. They now become a good putter. And that looks like what's happened to Lucas Glover. He's become at least he's been a good putter the last 2 weeks. Matter of fact, he's bordered on being a great putter the last 2 weeks. So just because somebody has the yips doesn't mean they're a terrible putter. They might be a great putter, but they have the yips. And that's the hope that I think people will derive from what has happened to Lucas Glover. And that's why I think this is such a great story. Not because the whole golfing world is excited because Lucas Glover won 2 tournaments in a row, because I don't think people would know who Lucas Glover is, even though he won the U.S. Open, but that was years ago. And he seems like a nice guy, and he works hard at his game, and it was a great story when his kids came running out on the green, and all that stuff is great. But I don't think the golfing world pays that much attention to it, but I do, because when somebody is open and honest about talking about their issues, and they share it with other people, and this isn't life, this isn't life or death. This isn't somebody who's got, a bad addiction problem, and they talk about it, and it inspires somebody else to do something better and change their life around and save their life. We're not talking about that. We're talking about golf here. But when he talked about his issues with the yips and dealing with the yips, it inspires other people, hopefully, to, you know what, maybe I should try this. So what did Lucas Glover do? One of his coaches, I don't know how many coaches he's got, but one of his coaches or his caddy or somebody, I'm not familiar with who works with him. Doesn't really matter. They told him, they said, you got to do 1 or 2 things. And this was correct information. This was great information. You need to either try a long putter with a different grip, and that's what he's done. He ordered a Lab Golf putter, the exact same as Adam Scott. And by the way, Adam Scott is a yipper. Adam Scott has been a not good putter, well below average, bordering on terrible, okay? Or terrible, as Charles Barkley says, terrible putter, okay? And he, by the way, finished, I think, 2nd or 3rd or 4th on the PGA Tour in putting last year with the Lab Golf putter. So you got to give that some credit. It's the most stable putter I've ever seen. I thought this immediately when I saw that Lab Golf putter. And if you've listened to me, I tout the Lab Golf putter. I love that Lab Golf putter. It's lie balanced. I remember the first time I saw it was at a PGA Tour Superstore. I went in the store and I asked the guy, it was locked up in the cabin. I said, hey, what's the deal with that putter? And he said, it's Lab Golf. I said, can I try it? And he said, yeah. And he unlocked it. And, things are expensive, so they lock them up. And I'm out there putting with this thing. And I thought, this is the most stable putter I've ever felt. And the whole claim to fame is it doesn't torque and it doesn't twist. And that's good for a yipper. And I immediately sent a message to Lab Golf. And I said, and I talked to the owner of Lab Golf, and I said, you know what? I think this putter would be great for people with the yips. It's not going to cure them, but it's definitely going to help. But I don't see any yip in Lucas Glover's stroke now. But the Lab Golf putter definitely 100% has helped Lucas Glover, 100%. He ordered the exact same putter that Adam Scott has, and Adam Scott putted tremendously last year. He's a much better putter now. I don't know if he's a great putter, but he's at least a good putter that doesn't have the yips anymore. Before, he might have been a good putter with the yips, which makes him statistically a horrible putter. So Lucas Glover changed the putter, but his coach had told me you need to try this or you need to putt left-handed. And Lucas Glover said, I was determined to finally make a change. I understand the issue. I understand it's a neurological issue. I heard him talking about the pathway things and what I just talked about to you. And that tells me that somebody has given him some information that's correct. And he had convinced himself finally, I'm sure this wasn't the first time he's had this discussion, either with somebody talking to him or him talking to himself, but he had this discussion with himself and his coach and whatever. And he determined, you know what, I'm finally going to make a change. Now, my question, why did it take you so long? You've wasted some time in your career. Who knows how many millions more dollars he would have made? He's probably incredibly thankful that he just made, 6 million or $7 million by winning these two tournaments. And then I don't think he could. How could he not think? What if I would have done this earlier? What if I would have? What if I would have done this 3 or 4 years ago? Maybe he didn't know about it. Maybe nobody suggested to him. I don't know. But when he finally made that decision to change, and the left-handed putting, the last resort that he didn't go to is a method that I think players on the PGA Tour should use. I can tell you one for sure would be Will Zalatoris, because he's a two-handed yipper. He's got yips in the left hand, yips in the right hand, and rather than trying to waste all this time that like people do, trying to try this, try that, try this, try that, and then they waste all this mental energy on trying. Like, I don't know, how did this happen? How did this start? What difference does it make? What difference does it make? It doesn't matter how it started. How it started is not going to help you deal with it. How it started is not going to help you fix it. You have it. Just fix it. And left-handed is using a totally different neurological pathway, and it will be something that will help you if you are severely yipping with both hands. That's the way to do it. I think Lucas Glover just has it in his right hand, so he got the great results. Hopefully, it motivates other people to try. If you struggle with short putts, there's a pretty good chance you're a yipper. I know 26% of all people who play the game of golf have the yips. I know that. When somebody asks me, Hank, would you look at my putting? Immediately, I'm thinking, well, there's at least a 50% chance they have the yips, because why else would they have asked me to look at their putting? And then if they mention it again, or they say I have trouble with short putts, I think, oh boy, now it's a 90% chance they have the yips. Our baseline was 26% of all golfers have the yips. And if somebody struggles with putting, if you miss short putts, if you buy a bunch of putters because you're looking for the answer, there's a chance you have the yips. And you know what? All you have to do is try one of those putters from Lab Golf. Try an alternative grip. Try the long putter. The long putter, you can brace with one hand. You can't brace against your body anymore, but you can brace with one hand, and then you just grip it like this, saw grip, and you're good to go. And it has made a world of difference. I don't know why more people don't do it. It's crazy. It's like they're stubborn. No, it's not stubbornness. It's stupid. I mean, try something different. What difference does it make what you look like? Lucas Glover looks like the most confident guy I've ever seen putting. He made the biggest 180 that anybody could ever make. Has anybody ever made a bigger 180? That's why this is such a good story. Has anybody ever made a bigger 180? I mean, going from, life or death, wiggling it in from 8 inches, can barely make it once in a while from 8 inches to winning back-to-back on the PGA Tour. He wins the FedEx St. Jude, FedEx Open, first playoff event, and next thing you know, he's right up there. I don't know what he is, third or fourth in the FedEx Cup. He's got a chance for a big prize. So it's a cool story. Anyway, hope it motivates people to try if they have the issue with the short putts, because can't putt, can't play. That's the fact. That's the thing. Can't putt, you can't play. All right. Hope everybody enjoyed the podcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching NoFilter.net. There's a lot of great programming on NoFilter.net. I mean, and the name says it all. No filter. So no one on here has a filter, and a lot of great conversation. And I'm happy to be a part of it. And hope you enjoyed the Hank Haney Podcast. It's also brought to you by Voodoo Pain Relief Cream. So if you have arthritis pain, joint pain, muscle soreness, you need to try my Voodoo Pain Relief Cream. Just go to voodoopainrelief.com. It's 100% guaranteed. It will be the best product you ever tried. I absolutely guarantee it. Hope everybody has a great day. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll talk to you soon on the Hank Haney Podcast.